Velpari Series. Volume 1, Rise of Velpari. In a time when the world was still young, when mountains whispered legends and rivers carried stories from one village to another, when kingdoms were carved not by conquest alone, but by culture, kindness, and kinship, there rose a land nestled in the lush, mist-kissed hills of ancient Tamilagam. A land called Parambu Nadu. It was an age known to us as the Sangam era, a time of unparalleled poetry, profound love for nature, and fierce self-respect. Here, the soil was rich with rice and turmeric. The forests echoed with the cries of peacocks, elephants, and wild boars. And the hearts of people were richer still, with resilience, reverence, and rhythm. This was a civilization that didn't merely survive, it sang. And among its many chieftains, poets, warriors, and philosophers, one name would be etched into eternity. Velpari, the king of Parambu Nadu, the giver of chariots, the embodiment of dharma and generosity. But great stories do not begin with greatness. They begin with roots. To understand Velpari, we must return to the Velir clan. An ancient tribe, noble not just in blood, but in spirit. They were warriors, yes, but also guardians of knowledge, of sacred customs, of the land's soul itself. They believed that kingship was not a throne, but a duty. That true power lay not in the sword, but in wisdom. Velpari was born into this lineage, into the house of the Velir, the rulers of Parambu. But he was no ordinary prince. Born under an auspicious star, the skies themselves were said to have turned golden that morning. His mother, quiet, graceful, strong like the banyan tree. His father, a noble chieftain, who believed that a king must first learn to serve. Pari's early days were not within palaces of gold. He ran barefoot in the red soil, bathed in river streams, sat beside storytellers and blacksmiths alike. He would often climb the tallest tamarind trees not for fruit, but to gaze at the horizon. He was curious, restless, hungry not for power but for understanding. At 10, he was known to resolve quarrels between cattle herders. At 12, he memorized ancient verses passed on orally for generations. By 15, he had walked to every border of Parambu Nadu on foot. He said, to protect the land, I must know it first. By 17, when his father passed away, the people did not cry out for a new king. They turned, in unison, to Pari. Not out of fear, but out of faith. He did not seize power. He accepted responsibility. And his first acts as ruler. Not battles. Not taxes. Not expansion. But healing. He walked with farmers through dried canals and restored them. He stopped the logging of sacred groves and declared them protected. He called poets to his court and offered them not just patronage but respect. In his words, a kingdom with no poetry is a body with no soul. Parambu Nadu began to thrive. But peace, as always, invites envy. Whispers of his land's wealth reached distant kings. Ambitious rulers who saw generosity as weakness. Empires who believed a king without walls could be overrun. And yet, when invaders came, it was Pari who stood at the front. Not from behind a fortress, but face to face, as a father defends his family. The people say he rode not for conquest, but for balance. That his sword struck only when all else failed. Even his enemies, if defeated, were treated with dignity. But perhaps the moment that defined him most was the one with no battle. One day, as he prepared to ride, he saw a creeper plant wrapping itself around the wheel of his chariot. He smiled and stepped back. He ordered the chariot to be left behind. "Let the vine grow," he said. "It seeks a home. Who am I to deny it?" That one moment, told in countless Sangam verses, echoed far beyond Parambu Nadu. It wasn't just a king pausing for a plant. It was a message. Every life, be it a warrior, a farmer, a deer, or a vine, had meaning. Pari's court had no golden throne. He sat among his people. He shared meals with strangers. He listened before speaking. His laws were based not on punishment, but restoration. Justice, to him, was not a hammer, it was a healing hand. He planted groves where there were none. Built shelters for traveling artists. Celebrated births and mourned deaths not as a king, but as a fellow human. There are tales of him walking miles to personally apologize to a widow whose home was accidentally damaged by royal workers. What made him legendary was not wealth or war. It was presence. His people did not fear him. They loved him. And love, unlike power, cannot be taken away. It lives on. And so, Parambu Nadu flourished not through gold or conquest, but through poetry, peace, and shared pride. This was the beginning. The rise of Velpari. Not just a king, but a way of life. In the next chapter, as distant empires grow restless, and poets of the Sangam arrive to witness history, we shall see how Velpari became not just a ruler, but a guardian of culture. Stay with us.